Alright, well, I'm not really imagining anyone's gonna watch today because I haven't been live streaming consistently for a while, but trying to get back in the habit, especially with everything that's been going on lately in my day-to-day. Sorry for all the noise, hopefully it's not too loud. I'm not sure what the audio quality is like because I've got a different microphone set up today. Let me know in the comments if you can hear everything normally. Trying to use a noise canceling setup so my neighbors don't ruin the audio for literally everything. So this is kind of my daily carry. There's quite a bit more. I actually have this this leather pencil case over here that is filled with all kinds of stuff I can open up and get into that if you want. But I figured I'd kind of show what I carry around daily and the type of stuff that I sell. Not only like in the links of all my descriptions, but also the company that I work for sells everything you're looking at here. I actually have quite a bit more, but if I stack anymore, it's going to touch the camera. So, but this is like my main journal, sketchbook, uh, sort of like any commissions, any projects that I do, it's all done in these three things. And then these are four of my favorite pens and pencil. And then I have quite a bit more, but like typically if I leave the house, I've got these on me and another setup. I'm just going to work down through it and then we'll flip through the journals. This is a Colotino. It's a raw brass ballpoint pen, but really it's just the housing that you're looking at. It's a D1 refill. D1 is a really versatile ink. Currently, so I get it in both gel and ballpoint. This is a ballpoint refill that's in here. This is also a Colotino, but it is a special edition. It's hand mixed Italian acetate and it's put into an injection mold, so each one is completely unique. This one in particular has a lot of grit in it, so it's called the Dune. It looks like it's actually got sand in it. So typically when I sell these, I lay out as many as I can for people to pick which one they want because they're all unique. That's two of my favorites. This one that I was showing you first, the raw brass, is heavy. The only hollow portion of it is just to house enough for the refill and the mechanism to hold the refill. So it's one of the heavier pens that I carry. This is also a Colotino. It's raw aluminum. So it's got kind of a brushed aluminum look to it. It's hard to probably see, but this one doesn't necessarily patina like the brass would. Raw brass will patina and oxidize as you use it. You can always polish it with chemicals, polishing pads, things like that. But this one, it just kind of stays how it is. I've actually got a red ballpoint refill in here, so I can do skin tones and sort of lighter shading. And I put it in there intentionally because this is about half the weight of the brass version. This one is a black ballpoint, this one is a red ballpoint. And then the Italian acetate version that I showed you, the special edition, this one actually has a gel in there because I'm currently learning how to do woodcut design in terms of like a tattoo style or a design style. So I wanted a definitive ink which I'll show you examples with these pins and on my pages here in a minute. And then this is the Kaweco SketchUp. It's actually just a holder for a large piece of graphite. It's a 5.6 graphite, and it's a raw brass housing. All of these have an octagonal slide clip on them, so I could clip them onto a jacket pocket or a shirt pocket or into my bags. One of the cooler features of this is if you unscrew the tail end, it's actually a V-shaped blade in there. And so you can get a nice sharp edge, or sometimes I'll just use a piece of 250 grit sandpaper and get a flat edge so I have a sharp side and a sort of rounded side. So that's what I typically carry, especially at work. I'll go through more pens and stuff here in a minute, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the sketchbook. So this is my daily carry. I'm going to move these out of the way because I feel like if I start opening them, it's going to be like opening a DeLorean door. It's going to go right into the ceiling. Okay, so this is my daily carry Grand Voyageur Paper Republic pocket size sketchbook, journal, planner. It's got everything in there. This one is the Cognac Brown, but I've carried it almost every single day for close to 4 years. I'd have to do the math, but just shy of 4 years. So the patina on it is relatively dark. It's also, I've carried it so much that it has stretched to accommodate a larger build out, and it's actually got little striations and stretch marks along the spine here. I run extra ribbons through the spine of my books because I want to carry more books than what you typically would get when you first buy them. And then I run an extra ribbon around the outside so it keeps it closed really tightly. So pretty much at all times I have a Paper Republic drawing book. If you're not familiar with that company, it's Paper Republic. They are based in Vienna. They make leather-bound journals, sketchbooks, planners. It's a very cool company. Everyone that works there is pretty incredible. I'm an ambassador for that company, but it's really just basically because I use them so much. I would use them and have used them for years, even without that. It was just kind of more something that I wanted to get because it was kind of like an accolade personally. Okay, so on this journal, what I have on here is a Parker Jotter. This is a ballpoint refill. It's the Quink Flow refill. It's an international short standard ballpoint cartridge, but you can also get them in G2 gel. You can get it in a needlepoint. It's a really versatile cartridge, so I like to carry this pen. It's also a classic pen. You see it in a lot of movies. Once you know about a Parker Jotter, you'll see them everywhere. All right, we can flip through. This is a sketchbook that it's been through quite a bit. I didn't really rush through this one. I took a lot of time working on this one, and it has variations of hyper detailed and then sometimes slightly lazier 10-minute drawings. Some I abandoned, a lot of them I finished and I've kind of surpassed the point where the drawing is here. So it's really more of a book that I'm about to replace, which is always a little bit weird because it's sort of like putting a blank in here and then not having much to show because it is like a pocket held or a pocket sized portfolio. That is a cardinal drawing I never finished. I started it when I was staying at my friend's farm. Here's one of the many drawings that I've done of David Lynch. I did that just after he passed away. My brother and I are both big fans. So that's like honestly, I don't remember how long it took me, probably 20 minutes or so. And then I did that with a Pentel Graph Gear 1000. It would be a 0.5 and a 0.3 for something that size. All right. This is a really poorly done drawing of Tom Segura. I did it really quickly the day that I went to see him with one of my friends last year. That is Jake Ricker. He is one of my favorite Bay Area photographers and just photographers in general. He documents the life on top of Golden Gate Bridge, like all the walking paths and stuff like that. And he documents everything on film with a Leica M6, I think. So that's Jake. This is Greg Williams. He's one of my favorite photographers. quite a bit of my uh, portraits are actually based on his photography, so I use them as references because I really like what he captures. This is Rodney Mullen, Godney, the inventor of the kickflip and flat ground ollie and all the skateboard stuff. I have kind of like a weird connection with him through some mutual friends, and I got to show him this and some other drawings. It's Willie Nelson, one of the smaller ones. These are all a little bit tricky because it's always a balance of how much detail you want to pack into a small portrait. That is Harry Dean Stanton. If you don't know who that is, go look him up. He's a great actor, poet, professional weirdo, kind of an odd dude. Um, yeah, this is Peter McKinnon. I sort of have a love-hate relationship with Peter McKinnon. I feel like everything I get into and really obsess over, he starts getting into a year or two later, and then everybody is on the Peter McKinnon trip, and then they're all doing it. So that's always weird. Um, this is Sierra Farrell. I've actually drawn, I believe it's this one. It's based on one of my friend Jody's photos of her, but I've drawn this a few times. I'll show you a larger one in my A5 portfolio. That is Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd. This is Ari Matty, comedian. That is Scroobius Pip, the British MC, podcaster, and actor. One of the famous actors with a stammer. This is Michael Fassbender. A lot of people seem to like this one when I show it. I always felt like I kind of missed the mark, but I think they're responding more to how it isn't a perfect picture. It's more of a balance of contrast and having asymmetrical uh, lighting sources. This is Gary Oldman. It's actually a photo taken by Greg Williams, one of the portraits that I showed earlier. Um, this is taken at his home that I think is out by Palm Springs. He actually does like silver nitrate photography and all kinds of cool stuff that you wouldn't expect. Yeah, um, that is Brad Pitt as Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Saw him a few times. This is Jack Kerouac. I live in San Francisco, and so he's kind of a staple around here. It's gotten kind of smudged from the actual Paper Republic ribbon, which I need to figure out a way to not have it happen. I might start skipping the page that these are on and making it like a scratch page. So I've noticed that anytime I've ever moved the ribbon around. That is Dean Cassidy, who Jack Kerouac used to ride around with, and this is actually based on his mugshot, so it's a really soft portrait, so it's hard to emulate that older film stock. This is Lawrence Ferlinghetti. He's a famous poet from San Francisco. He started the City Lights bookstore. This is Ansel Adams, famous photographer, one of my favorite photographers. It's one of the rare photos that he didn't have a hat on. This is James Baldwin, great writer, great intellectual, a lot of good interviews. It's always cool if you look him up on the Dick Cavett show. Those are some of my favorites. That is Kendrick Lamar. This one I kind of bailed on. I started doing it because my family kept referencing the Super Bowl show, and I don't know. Then I got bored with the details. I don't draw a lot of modern people. This is, in my opinion, one of my many failed attempts at Anthony Bourdain, or Bourdain. Even though he has a lot of facial geography, he's still very hard to draw. His head is always kind of weird. He has like what I refer to as like toddler proportions, where his head is so big compared to his body that it always looks wrong. But I have some other ones or other drawings of him in my A5 portfolio that I'll show. That is John Bernthal. Big fan of his. It's young Bob Dylan. That is Jim Marshall. He actually took the photo that the previous drawing was based on. He's a famous Bay Area photographer. There's a great documentary about him on, I think it's on Hulu, but basically just about how much like a troublemaker he was. That is Joaquin Phoenix from Inherent Vice, which was one of my favorite movies for a long time. This is uh, Jeremy Allen White as Carmy and the Bear. It's kind of a softer drawing. I did that one really quickly. It's a lot of smudging. You can see that there's actually a lot of hand smudging around him. softens it. These pages are 150 GSM, so there's not a ton of grip, but once you add oil from your fingers to it, it does start to kind of give it a little more texture than what I typically like. So I usually smudge it with a drawing glove now. This is Bill Murray, appropriately placed behind Carmi from the Bears, so both Chicago guys. That is one. I draw a lot in North Beach, and there is a cop that used to come into the cafe where I sat and did my drawings, and he would always yell, "Do Frank." And so I started drawing Frank, and I never saw him again. So I don't know. Maybe if I ever bump into him again, I'll finish it real quick and show it. This is Val Kilmer from Tombstone. I actually abandoned this one. I kind of don't like the idea of drawing portraits of people right after they pass away because it's like a trend and it feels sort of cheap. But this one actually led to a cool relationship with a few people in Italy. One of the guys that I showed it to recognized this and then started telling everyone about it. Turns out he was like a massive Western fan, and then I have a photo, but I gave him the original. I drew him in like a Western poster. He was the dock master at a village that I stayed in with my family last year a couple times. But anyway, even though the drawing wasn't finished, it was finished enough for him to recognize it and really like it. This is Jeff Bridges as the dude during his dream sequence in the bowling alley. It's also a soft one. This one I think was like 10 or 15 minutes, really quick, all with a black wing pencil. Um, this is uh, a family member, and it's based on a really old photo of him. So also soft. Didn't really spend a ton of time on this one, but I really like the photo. I love how bent up his hat was. 'Cause I'm pretty sure he's actually wearing an open road, and it's just super, super bent, like it was left in the back seat or on the floor or something. This is it's kind of a funny one. I hadn't decided if I was going to draw on every page, but since I put my references on the left side of the page, I always draw over here. And I wanted to fill every one of them before I realized I should leave the backs blank so I could cut them out to be able to sell or give those people. But I flipped it upside down to go ahead and do that, and this is Bukowski. It's one of my favorite photos of him. I've actually done a pen drawing of this with ballpoint pens that I like a lot more. He was such a chaotic guy. I feel like it was better to sort of do it in chaotic style with ink. This is like a 5 or 10 minute James Dean, so not my favorite, but it conveys enough where people recognize him if they've known him. This is Johnny Depp from the set of Minamata when he was playing a photographer. If you look up this photo, it's by Greg Williams, who I mentioned earlier. And he's like sticking out of a barrel that he's just dunked into. That one I do. That's one of my favorite portraits in this one. It's all with a pencil, or I'm sorry, with a Blackwing extra firm. But I did that in about 20 minutes, so it's sort of it's one of the best examples of what I'm aiming to achieve with the speed that I draw, but also the accuracy and the balance of contrast. That's sort of the sweet spot for everything that I'm aiming for right now. This is Simon Pegg. This is another one that was very quick. It was probably 15 minutes at most. This is Nick Frost, uh, his brother from another mother, his life partner, not in romance, but in movies. Um, yeah, like a lot of their films. I like a lot of stuff that they do individually. This is it's not John Pertwee, maybe it's William Hartnell. I can't remember which Doctor Who it is. I should know this, but my Doctor Who knowledge has failed me more recently. Been less invested in it. This is Christopher Hitchens. He was one of my favorite writers for a long time, but I honestly haven't read or thought about him in a very long while. That's also a very quick drawing. Both of these last ones were probably about 15 minutes. Um, If I remember correctly, this was done with a Blackwing extra firm, so it's a bit more of a broad graphite. It's not a mechanical pencil, which translates to a faster drawing, but sometimes less detail than what I would typically do. And then I believe this is Sitting Bull, if I remember correctly. A lot of people do this, but they leave his feather out because it's such a long photo because the feather is so long on the top. but my kid was doing social studies, and we were talking about Sitting Bull, so I did that one. Um, so these books are 96 pages, and for the most part, I typically am doing about 46 drawings in each because the first and last page are half glued down, and I don't typically use them. And in the spirit of not wanting to have a drawing on each side so I can cut them out and either give them to people or take them to galleries or sell them, I just draw on about half the pages. So that's a finished Paper Republic drawing book. These are great because they also lay completely flat. So when you're drawing, you don't have to clamp your pages down. Uh, Makes for a much easier experience compared to a lot of other drawing books, and it's not spiral bound. It's also easier to remove these pages. So like even this one as an example, I could take a pocket knife and cut right there and the page is free. It's pretty low effort, but they don't fall apart. So this is my Traveler's brand or Traveler's Company planner. It's the passport size. I prefer their stuff. So I've got like different photos and stickers from different galleries and things like that. Things from my family. And then I manually track all of my time. So for my day job, they're all color coded depending on what location I'm at. And then I like to kind of see my month at a glance, and I really like their format. But there's also a clearance stack of these at my job, and I bought about 14 years worth. This is a Paper Republic lay loop. It's a magnetic pen loop, so you can clip it on like a bookmark. I often use them to close journal pages if I don't want people to see them if I'm at work and showing my journals. It's also just a good way to have a pen on you at all times. This is a Yamamoto paper. I was given one of these as a gift from a coworker who was leaving, and I just liked how small it was. And it's one that I don't feel too precious about the paper, so I do daily lists and kind of like personal notes, things like that. With these types of things, what I typically do, I start in the back with lazier note taking. These are all Japanese principles. I work for a Japanese company, and so that's, like ikigai, reason for being, life purpose, things like that. Then also in here, there are some things I don't necessarily want to show in terms of phone numbers and stuff like that. But these are people I meet at work that I want to either keep in touch with or look up. This is an artist that I met, William Matthews, famous painter, has like a very large collection of cowboy hats because he typically paints cowboys. We clicked when I met him at work. But yeah, these are songs that I like. It's kind of lazy. Like I'm not very formulated with this one. It's a cheap book. It's a folded sort of stitch spine, so no staples. It's a field notes book. This one I haven't actually started. I got it as a project book so I could document photo walks with my daughter so we could eventually piece together a book of photos where it's her captures and mine side by side. And me sort of documenting the process of teaching her how to shoot on film. So we got these books, and she has one and I have one, and we have corresponding notes. But like I said, it's very early stages, so I haven't used much of it. And then I have the card and cash folder, which is something that I tend to like to have in all of mine, even if it's a portfolio. This is just a little pocket system, and then I put one of my thinner refills in it. And these are ballpoint pen sketches. So the pens I was showing you earlier, they're done with these. This is the Colotina brass ballpoint. It is a D1 refill. It's the one I was talking about earlier. It's what this is done with. But I do a very, very loose outline, and then I look for clusters of contrast and scribble a bit. And it takes a lot less time. This is like a 10, 15-minute drawing, and I can get a little bit more detail in there. But for these, I only draw on one side since it's 80 GSM paper. It's really thin. And compared to the other drawing books, I go through these pretty fast. But I feel a little less precious about this paper just because it's a little, for one, it's cheaper, and two, it's thinner. But so here's another Harry Dean Stanton. That one's a little too contrasted, but I was sort of playing with scribble method blended with cross hatching. This is Walt Whitman. A lot of people ask me if it's Charles Manson or Karl Marx, but it's Walt Whitman. It's just him at a younger age. Big fan of Walt Whitman. I draw him a lot. It tends to be a really quick portrait to be able to do a messy beard and hair, or he sometimes wears really big hats. This is a chimp, obviously, hopefully, obviously. This one actually was done with a different ballpoint, but it is still a ballpoint ink. That was done with, I think, the Kaweco Brass Special, which I'll show you in a minute. Um, This one I kind of chip away at slowly. I've drawn this line a bunch of different times in different sizes and colors, and I just like having sort of repetition. Eventually, I want to be able to draw this just from memory because I tend to glance at the reference photo every couple minutes when I'm doing these. This one is one that I started, and every once in a while I'll go and start chipping away at it, but I like to leave it in there as well so I can show people an example of what these more detailed ones look like when they start, because they are really just that simple. And these little hash marks here are just showing the marks to give you level lines or reference lines from the reference photo that I'm looking at. And eventually that will be all more detailed, and you'll see the back half of the horse, and it'll be clusters of contrast. That one is also done with the Tino ballpoint, with the brass one. This was a funny one. I still haven't finished these. A lot of these I like to leave undone so I can kind of chip away while I'm waiting for food or, in line somewhere. If I'm sitting down at a restaurant, I'm waiting for someone. My daughter said to draw me as a gorilla, and basically I wear glasses and a hat like that, and then it's kind of like half me, half gorilla. It sort of looked like, I don't know, a little bit like Bigfoot. So here's another good example. This is Walt Whitman, same as the one as before, except he's at a much older age and he has his hat on. And then again, it's a little bit of scribble method, but mostly cross-hatching. And that's another one. One of my favorite things to do is to start a drawing, kind of leave it, and then come back to them and just kind of chip away at little things as I have the energy and the or not the consciousness, but the sort of like presence to do it. Um, these, they're so messy, I'm a little less detailed with them and a lot less precious, which is kind of nice. A lot of art seems to get too precious and then you take too long and stall out. This is one. Typically with these, my daughter will ask me to draw something, and so we were at a museum and talking about going to the zoo, and I asked her what animal she wanted to see, and she said giraffe. So she said that I should draw a giraffe. And so that's also done with the Colotino uh, brass ballpoint. This one I started, it's actually done with a pen from a restaurant. There's a place that I went in Austin recently, and I was waiting for someone to finish some work, and so I sat at like a hotel uh, little porch or lanai and started drawing that one. Eventually, I'll go back and finish this, but my goal with this one was to not do scribble and to do a high contrast crosshatch where eventually the whole thing will be crosshatched, and then I'll go in and do a higher contrast for all the darker portions, sort of bring it out a little bit more. But that will be uh, Winston Churchill. And the rest I think are blank. I'd like to leave some pages in there. But that's the smallest one. This is the QR for all of my stuff. So this is the journal that I carry with me everywhere. If I go to the grocery store, it's in my back pocket or my coat. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood because I work in the neighborhood and I sell these. And I often get bumped into and they ask if I have it on me, or they'll show me the one that I sold them, or they'll want to show someone they're with they've told about this thing. If you're a fan of Indiana Jones, a lot of people compare it to the Grail Diary from The Last Crusade, which I always love. One of my favorite movies. Okay, next would be the A5 portfolio. So also Paper Republic. Very similar. These two are actually the same. Whoops, sorry. These two are the same color. They're just a couple of years apart. This one I got last, I think October, November, somewhere around there, and this one's 4 years old. So this one gets a lot more beat up because it rides around in my bag with a bunch of pens and pencil bags, and it's up against like keychains. But I sort of want it to be used and dinged up and look like it's got a lot of you know mileage on it, but also Paper Republic. So all of my stuff is Paper Republic, most of the drawing paper with the exception of a couple little things. But this is the A5 portfolio. So again, like the other one, this one, it's run on band systems, and I always run extra bands through mine so I can fit a really big build out like this. I don't like to mix my practices, so I typically do all pencil art in one book, all pen in the other. Also, if you want to look at this side of it, these are two of my favorite pens. This is a Kaweco brass ballpoint special. It's got a famous click. It's a really resonant click. It's a little heavier because of the length of it. It's kind of nose weighted, so it's really good for scribble art and all kinds of stuff. I'll show you some drawings I've done with that one. This is the Paper Republic with stylo. It's the aluminum version, so it's a little lighter than what I typically want to carry, but because of the length, it's actually pretty comparable to this. Same style of body. They're both octagonal bodies. They're both long form. The main difference is the ink refill I have in this one and the click. This is actually a soft click, so it doesn't make any noise. It's not like the louder click, but they both, if you look at them close enough, you can see this. They both have a needle point refill. This is a G2 compressed gel refill, and this is an Oto ballpoint. So they make for really good, fine, detailed drawings. That's two of my favorites. All right. So in the portfolio, I have a lot of stuff in here. There's a bunch of photos and things, you know, like family stuff, photos of me from my latest birthday. I've got some little embroidery scissors that I actually use to make quite a few things. I cut out a lot of like hotel paper, business cards, things like that. My grandfather was also a cartoonist, and he used to use this automotive ruler. If you can see, it's incredibly flat and it's flexible. See if I can get like a good angle on it. This I really love because it's perfect to carry around in any of my notebooks. But that's how I measure out all my portraits. And then this is kind of funny. I was actually in line at the store in Texas recently, and I bought this because I wanted to have a reference. I think I'm also just at an age where I'm getting into stuff that's like not cool. So now I'm educated on Texas birds. So this one, same as the other ones, this is a Paper Republic drawing book. It's 150 GSM paper. These, I tend to always draw on the second page because like I mentioned before, these first pages are partially glued down, so you get a smaller area. Let me make sure that you can actually see without the glare. There we go. So this is also, that's Christopher Hitchens based on that same photo that I showed you in my pocket-sized journal. This was done with Blackwing pencils and Pentel graph gears, based on a photo reference on a side-by-side. This is Ethan Hawke from The Lowdown. That's one of my that's one of my favorite shows more recently. I really like that, the Sterling Harjo show. Let's see. This is what I mentioned before. This is Anthony Bourdain. It's one of the more accurate ones I've gotten of him, but like I was saying, he's got a lot of facial geology, so you would think he'd be easier to map out and draw, but he is actually pretty tricky to draw. This is Nick Frost, based on the same photo as the small one, just a lot more detail packed into it. He's one of my favorite actors, and actually his autobiography is one of my favorite books to listen to. So there's that. Here's Simon Pegg. That's another one. I don't really remember the exact runtime in these. I could look it up because I tend to document all that stuff. But this is a photo based on, or a portrait based on a photo by Greg Williams, who was in the other book. That's that same Walt Whitman, just a little more accurate. So like this one, his eyes and his nose are actually right, but everything else is pretty comparable to the pen drawing I showed earlier. If you're interested, there's time lapses and videos of most of these where you can see me actually make these. They're all in my short feed. And then there's live videos in the archive, so you can see literally from start to finish on most of these. This is Edgar Allan Poe, one of the regular watchers. Nolan recommended him or requested me drawing him, so I did that one. Let's see. This is Robin Williams when he was a little bit older with the beard. That's one of my favorite portraits I've done in a long time. That is a self-portrait I kind of abandoned. At some point, like with these, similar to the pen drawings I was showing earlier, I do go back and chip away at these, but there was just so much stuff on this I was really tired of looking at. Plus, I get bored staring at myself. This one is hopefully obvious. It's Albert Einstein. It's an unfinished one. Like I said before, I do like to leave a lot of unfinished art to show the process, but also just to have something when I want to mindlessly draw and not be hyper focused on something. That's what I'm doing. And then these, typically with the larger ones, I like to have a printout taped in it so I can kind of have a direct comparison that I can look at. Not with all of them, but some of them. This is Thelonious Monk. This one you can watch. There's shorts of this one. There's also live in the archive where you can see it start to finish. So you see how I measure them out, how I develop them from the nose all the way out. It's one of my favorite photos of him where it's showing the direct reflection of his hands on the piano and the reflection of his glasses. This one is Lowell George, also in the live archive and the short feed. He was the lead singer and guitar player from Little Feat originally, no longer with us. That's an unfinished one of my late grandfather. I kind of got into this one the day that he passed away, and then, it's one of those things. How often do you like to look at sad stuff? So, especially lately. But yeah, that's another one. Eventually, I will go back and add the detail and make it look a little bit more like him. Like right now, he looks really concerned, but really, he was, I think, laughing at something. This is Margot Robbie. I have a lot of people ask me if I just draw guys with beards and hats. So I started intentionally drawing females. And since I can't get away from Wuthering Heights in my timeline somehow, even though I don't interact with it, I figured I'd draw her. This is Sierra Farrell. She's one of my favorite current artists. If you don't know her music, go look her up. It's based on my friend Jody's photo of her from Stagecoach a couple years ago. This one was a lot of work, but there's time lapses and live streams of all the ones that I just showed you that are archived on my channel if you want to see how I do all these. And then this is one, it's another one that's unfinished. I originally started drawing it for a purpose and then sort of abandoned that. And eventually I will go back and finish it. It's another one that I like to just kind of chip away at. That's Joan Didion, great writer. Yeah. So, and then the rest of this book is blank. I haven't really put in as much time with these as I normally would, especially because I like to live stream them all. This is a good example. So these are actually done with this pen right here. This is the one I was talking about earlier that has the famous click. It's a Kaweco Brass Special ballpoint. So this is one of my favorite Bronco photos. The guy getting basically tossed off of a Bronco right after this. I believe he landed pretty much on his head. In the actual photo, you can see the arena really small in the background out in the dirt. I'm from West Texas, so it's just kind of baked in. The older I get, the more I draw Western stuff and miss where I'm from. But yeah, and then this one was kind of loosely based on a still frame from Giant, but then I started messing up the face and just turned it into a different kind of guy. But originally it was based on a James Dean photo. And this is Arctic Assassin. It's the bull that ended J.B. Mooney's career. That's now his pet. These are actually marked out on the back, so I wish I hadn't done that so boldly, but what can you do? And this is all cluster scribble art, so it's just contrast clusters. But this is actually just the shipping receipt from Paper Republic. Yeah, sometimes I like to get paper and sort of leave it in here as scraps. And, keep everything. I'm a sentimental guy. Okay, next one. This is an exercise that I do, I'd say probably closer to once a month now. These are some of the worst ones I've done. Like I like that, but the other two look like me through like a hall of mirrors. These are self-portraits. They're done with the Tino ballpoint brass. So it's a D1 refilled ballpoint that I've been talking about. That's what I did that with. These are all three Walt Whitman. Top two are scribble method. This one is a little bit more of a crosshatch, but it's mostly just hatching and not a lot of crosshatch. This, hopefully you know who that is. That's Bob Ross, some tree friends. I went as him for Halloween, and so I made some stuff. If you go back to my shorts feed, there's a bunch of stuff. I made a palette that has like his style of painting actually on it. Um, yeah, this is my closest friend, Kevin. People always ask if we're brothers, but he has a lot more hair than me, but we have basically the same beard. These are done with the Colotinos. This is the brass and the aluminum. Uh, the brass one has black ink and the aluminum has red ink. And so I like to do that to have like color pops for skin tones and things like that. Occasionally I go back over these with different colors like orange or peach. That's Lil George again. That was like a 5-minute sketch while I was at work. That's Willie Nelson again. That one I've done. I just kind of chipped away at it. This is an abandoned sketch that's of Sierra Farrell, same as the other ones I was showing you, but it was the first one when I was kind of trying to get an idea of what it would be like to draw all this stuff, and every once in a while I'll go back and work on it. These are two of my favorite sketches in this current book. This is Bob Mortimer, who's my favorite funny guy from the UK, and this is Joe Wilkinson, one of my other favorite guys. I drew both of them on an airplane going to Texas recently. Or actually, he was on the airplane to Texas, he was on the airplane back. That one I haven't finished, but I kind of want to just fill with a bunch of random size faces. Even though I love some symmetry, I kind of like packing some pages, so I haven't done it yet in this book. This is a really rough James A. Caster, which I'll eventually finish and then add some other elements here. This is Nick Frost from Shaun of the Dead when he's a zombie. I haven't finished that, but I like to chip away at it. This one I'm going to do all in cross hatching, but it's intentionally loose. I want it to be pretty free. This one I had started the other day and then realized how tired I was and went to bed. Eventually this will be Swallow. It's going to be like red, tan, and dark brown. Yeah. And then like I was saying earlier, a lot of my books actually start in the back. So this is like scratch pages. It's based on a famous photo. This is all scribble art with like a loose outline. And then these are how I warm up. Like typically when I am about to draw, I always do a warm up. So as an example, like I'll do one down here. I typically start and I'll do, see how the pen's not even starting yet. And then I'll say if our light's coming from here. So I have my two rough overlapping shapes. And then down here where there's a lack of light, it's going to be the darkest. And essentially if I'm doing scribble method, I just start, a lot of the times I kind of lean on a figure-8 pattern. And if you cluster enough of them, it starts to look like an actual ball or a pool ball or a sphere. And then this is our shadow here. And so closer to the item is going to be darker, and then it should fade as it gets farther away. But it's a good little exercise. It's something I can do while I'm on meetings or taking calls or anything like that as well. But that's what the backs of all my books are. Here's a slightly more accurate self-portrait page. None of them are perfect. That one, again, for some reason, is the better one. I'd say the top two are more accurate. This one looks a little bit like I'm being squished. And then this is like an abandoned idea that eventually I'll go back to, is crosshatch cowboys. So that's that page or that book. This is my XL card and cash holder. I've got pockets for my business cards. I tend to have a lot more in these, but I've been designing them and add stickers, and I've got a lot of hotel paper from all the hotels I've stayed in. And so I thought it'd be funny to just have me kind of peeking out behind stuff. This is a project book for a book that I'm illustrating right now. It's for someone about a story about their cat. It's just basically loose notes and things like that. These are like little, this has literally nothing to do with the book, this little drawing. I just wanted to draw like a little cityscape with a vanishing point. I kind of find it helpful to sketch and doodle when I'm stuck on something. And then this is basically a brand new book, but I tend to write in dot grid so I can change the orientation and write this way or this way. And then back here, this is a hotel I stayed in Austin recently. And right now I just have cards in there. I typically have a lot more packed in here. This is from Hotel Lucia, the place I stayed in Portland on tour a couple years ago. I always take the hotel pads and pens or pencils. These are loose drawings and blank pages, mainly so I can give people drawings. They're all Paper Republic paper, so this is a gift for a family friend who was fascinated with New York and the Empire State Building. He's a metal worker, so eventually I'll go through and add all the hyper detail to this. This is Fabio, who's a friend. That is someone I met in Italy last year a couple times. Very sweet guy. Speaks no English at all, but we get along really well. This is his girlfriend Francesca, one of friends in Italy. It's also just a rough outline and kind of speckled. So to be finished, basically. This is her mom, Marianella. These will all be gifts if I ever get to go back. I want to give them to them in person rather than mailing them. This is someone I met while I was on the ferry going to Argenio, and I drew him and his wife, and I need to finish these and mail them to him. I'm basically a year late at this point. This is our friend Francesca's father, Gigi. Um, his literal name is Luigi, and his brother's name is Mario, which is very common in Italy, but funny to Americans. Yeah, and then I have more blanks for commissions, or if I meet someone and want to draw them. I always like to have these on hand so I can do a quick sketch and give it to them. It's a nice way to leave something with people that you like. And then here's another Bob Ross. That one I kind of drew just if I ever struck up a conversation with someone and they were interested, I'd give it to them. Which, if you ever meet me in person, if you're nice enough, I'll give you something. You know, I tend to be pretty generous with these if people like some of my loose leaf sketches. But that's what's in this pocket. I have a pocket and a pocket in a portfolio. It's a little bit redundant, but I'm very organized. And then this I'll eventually go in and tape in properly. This is washi tape, so it comes off without tearing anything, but this is one of my favorite Ansel Adams photos. I got it when I went to the De Young Museum to see one of his exhibits a couple years ago, and I have a bunch of his postcards like that, but I kind of taped it in to have like another pocket to slide things in. Eventually what I'll do is just do nice like clean washi tape tags, but you know, or maybe glue it, something like that. But I like to kind of customize these. And then this one I won't show too much of because it's an illustration project that I'm currently on, but it's basically a project someone has commissioned, finding that I struggle to draw the main character because he's little. The kids turn out to look like Mickey Rooney when I draw them for some reason. So I have a lot of this stuff. They asked for very specific look, so I'm trying to tailor it to a look that I don't typically draw in. But this is how I storyboard my illustrated project. So if somebody has a book and they send me page ideas, these are each all broken down into what the pages are with little directives. So when I go to build out the whole page, I have a reference that I've already made for myself. So it's almost like having a cheat sheet that you created. These are like doing the hard work, and then when I go to do the full illustrated page, it's a little easier to just sort of use my own sketches as a reference. And there's multiple options because I'll probably digitally assemble the book, even though I'm drawing it by hand. This is another one that's much bigger, a little scary looking out of context. Yeah. And then back here I have like slots for business cards. I typically have a lot more in here, but I'm basically just down to a lot of mine. I tend to give out a lot of my cards, so I have them in every pocket. This is another one of my favorite Ansel Adams photos. And then I have some birthday cards in here because I just turned 40. This is a little Polaroid of me and my daughter. Yeah, so that's the A5. I have one more that I'm going to go through pretty quickly, and then I'm going to go to do something fun. All right, now the biggest one, the hardest one to show. This is the Paper Republic A4 portfolio. This is actually a gift. So this one and the last one were gifts from Paper Republic. Jerome, who owns the company, wanted to know why I didn't draw larger than the pocket size, and I told him they were out of my budget. And so he sent this to me with a sweet note and drawing paper. So it's actually helped progress my art quite a bit. So fair warning, I did pull out all of the stuff. This one's kind of gutted right now. I used to have a lot more in these pockets, but I've been kind of cleaning it and going through and changing how I'm carrying it. And then just with stuff going on lately, I've been trying to reform how I'm actually approaching certain projects. And so this one I just emptied out, but should have probably done that after this video. This one's mostly bad drawings, I will say. There's probably 10 or so that I really love, and then quite a few that I'm on the fence about. But I couldn't figure out how to utilize the larger page when I first got it, and I used to quarter or half my pages. And I did these exercises with fountain penning for a long time, where I draw like stairs or cascading scenes, everything where it's a vanishing point, where it's going to a center point here. These are more hotel pages. I like to keep all this stuff because it shows the honest trajectory and like progress of my work. This is a guy that I see all the time in North Beach. I took a photo of him. It's on my website if you want to see what it actually looks like. This is Doctor Who. It's Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor. That was meant to be J.R.R. Tolkien, but it just turned into a very scary older gentleman. Yeah. This one was going to be Henri Cartier-Bresson, but I quit drawing on grids and I just got kind of tired of messing with it. So maybe eventually I'll go back and do that. These are Robin Williams. Somehow, every time I drew from this reference photo, he always looks like Ted Cruz. So I quit drawing that one. So if you ignore that, you can tell that it's him everywhere else. Although this does look like Kevin Kline from Wild Wild West, which is funny. You can't unsee it once you see that. That's him from Death to Smoochie. This is him in the other one that I drew really large as well. Those are some that I never finished. These are hopefully, obviously, Lord of the Rings. Some are good, some are not. So I think Ian McKellen looks pretty good. Dominic Monaghan looks all right. Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen looks all right. They're very unfinished, very quick. Each one of those is about 5 minutes. Obviously, that's not Lord of the Rings. It's my daughter. It's from one of the Italian parades in North Beach. She had her noise canceling things on and wouldn't make a good, like a cute face for any photos, so everyone looks like she's giving me bug eyes. That is Martin Freeman from The Hobbit. Obviously not part of the Lord of the Rings, but neither is she. There's let's see, why am I blanking on his name? It's Sam, but well, there's not enough people in here to ask, but anyway, he's Samwise and in tons of stuff, and his dad is Gomez Adams in the original Adams Family. Anyway, here's Billy Boyd as Pippin, and then Elijah Wood as Frodo. Let's see, these are all failed Brad Pitt attempts, so that would be Cliff Booth, but he looks more like Jeff Booth. He's not quite right. That's from Inglourious Bastards. He's making kind of a funny face. It's hard to capture. I should redo these because now at this point I can glance at them and see what's wrong with them. But these are so old. This is him from Fight Club. Also another weird face, but now I can see what's wrong with them, so I should go back and fix them. These, I was doing a lot of birds for a while. This one I started drawing on my friend's farm and never finished. Same with these, I was kind of just drawing ugly birds. I had a turkey in here for a while. A lot of birds are pretty hideous when you start looking at them up close. Let's see. I'm going to rush through these because I got to go soon. This I was going to do all four, or all of the original Doctor Who before they canceled the show, but I only got into the first four. But eventually with these, like I said, I like to finish or leave unfinished pages so I can go back and kind of chip away at them as I have time. This was just me kind of hanging out on Christmas Eve a couple years ago. This is my friend's dad, which I need to finish and send to her. So it's a little memorial piece. This was also done on my friend's farm. It's not my style of drawing, but she wanted me to try and draw the pond in her place. So eventually I'll go and do that and then paint it. This one I actually have a time lapse of the whole thing. You can see on my Instagram or on my YouTube. It's just a chimp done with a Parker Jotter that has a microphone attached to it, so you can hear all the tactile feedback of the page. And you can watch it from start to finish. The only thing that's not the Parker Jotter is the orange in its eyes are actually from a Bic multi-pen. I'm going to speed through these. So this one I fell asleep during the live stream. If you want to go back and figure out where that is, you might be able to hear me snore. It's in the archive. It's one of the first live streams I did on here. It's a failed attempt, which I should go back and fix. Because now I can do that one by memory. Same here. Same here. I'm going a little too dark on the contrast. There's the lion. Looks more like a guy wearing a lion mask because I didn't get his jowls properly deep enough. So that's like what I like to do repetition for. Is you start to see where it can improve. This is where they start to get where I actually love them. This one is goofy. I don't know what. It was just being funny. Business chimp in a suit. Here's David Lynch, one of my favorites, which these are all for sale. If you ever want any of these, I'll sell the original and I will make prints and send them to you. This is eventually going to be a friend, Dylan LeBlanc. It's his whole page. That is a failed Jacques Cousteau. That is a failed John Steinbeck. This is Jack Torrance or Jack Nicholson from The Shining, also for sale. You can get prints or the original. This is Elvis, also for sale. Get prints of the original. These are all done with black wings and Pentel graph gears. This is De Niro as Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, also for sale. So these are the ones that I really do now. Here's a failed Bill the Butcher. Here's a ballpoint pen portrait. You can see me make that from start to finish. Here's James Dean. I did that with black wing and Pentel graph gears, also for sale. Prints or original. Here's another Dylan, which I need to finish. I'm waiting to go on a live stream with Dylan. Here's Tom Hardy. One of my favorite photos of him. I like the asymmetrical expression. It's done with a black wing pencil and Pentel graph gears, also for sale. This is Joaquin Phoenix. Same as the last few. Pentel graph gear, black wings. This is Josh Brolin, Johnny Depp. I'm going to just flip through these. Brad Pitt, Cliff Booth, Christian Bale, John Bernthal, Owen Wilson, wow, Daniel Day-Lewis, Willie Nelson, Jimi Hendrix, young Tom Petty, another one of my favorites. Jeff Bridges is the dude. Blank, which I will go back and use. I didn't realize it was in there. Oh, I didn't do it because I had an umbrella sketch on the backside, which I'll go back and chip away at. Here's a more accurate self-portrait now that I'm looking at it. It's not as bad as I remember it. Here's just like little sketches, like when my daughter wasn't feeling well. Here's a little warm-up page. It's all just kind of screwing around to warm up and get in the habit of drawing. And that's it. Well, this is where I leave you. I will be back on at some point, so stick around, subscribe, go and watch stuff in my archive, watch some of my long-form videos. Everything I showed you in here, for the most part, is actually well documented in time lapses and live stream archives, so you can see them from start to finish. They're like progress videos. I have a lot of those. If you like any of the Paper Republic stuff, I actually have a discount. You get 30% off on the link in my bio for any bundle that you get. So most of the stuff you see here, you can get 30% off. Just go to the links in any of my bio or on my website. Thanks for watching.